Operation GCD with an Appalachian grin. Adventures and shenanigans, we're diving right in. Out in the holler where the secrets creep, garbage can dudes digging mighty deep. Secret societies, shadows in the pines. Operation GCD of American rebels design. Double J searching deep in his brain hole, past layers of melted hops and bone resin. From cults to cover-ups, we're talking about all of that. So watch your sixth friend in the truth we trust. The world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo cults haunt the moon's pale beams. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Operation GCD with an Appalachian grin. Adventures and shenanigans, we're diving right in. Join us on the journey and enjoy the show. Thanks for joining us to get a little GCD. Any world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo coats haunt the moon's pale beam. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Hell, the world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo cults haunt the moon's pale beams. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Operation GCD with an Appalachian grin. Adventures and shenanigans, we're diving right in. Out in the holler where the secrets creep, garbage can dudes digging mighty deep. Secret societies, shadows in the pines. Operation GCD of American rebels design. Double J searching deep in his brain hole, past layers of melted hops and bone resin. From cults to cover-ups, we're talking about all of that. So watch your sixth friend in the truth we trust. The world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo cults haunt the moon's pale beams. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Operation GCD with an Appalachian grin. Adventures and shenanigans, we're diving right in. Join us on the journey and enjoy the show. Thanks for joining us to get a little GCD. Any world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo coats haunt the moon's pale beam. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, light things ablaze. Hell, the world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo cults haunt the moon's pale beams. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze.
Kick ass. Right? Kick ass. Well, don't want to sound like a dick or nothing, but it says on your chart that you're fucked up. You talk like a fag, and your shit's all retarded.
Howdy, folks. Your host, Double J, back here, coming at you live from my studio/RV dining room, located directly inside America. Anyhow, folks of the interwebs, Jimmy Bobby, yes, sir. I see you got some excellent questions here, and I do agree with you, very convoluted. We can certainly get into these matters of the society in the Cincinnati and some financial aspects surrounding such. And before we get there, anyhow, folks of the interwebs, thank you again for joining me here tonight to get a little GCD. We'll be your host of Operation GCD, that is, JJ Vance here, and more importantly, not the vice president. No bombs here, folks. No bombs here. Anyhow, thanks again for joining me here tonight, folks of the interwebs. We'll be your pilot and navigator for this super sus 24/7 there, Lucy. Pilot and navigator for this shenanigan-infused journey into the mind of this particular garbage can dude. How you doing, Desert Rain? Yes, ma'am. The song, that is a AI-generated song, but I did do the lyrics, so I will take credit for that. So, anyhow, folks of the interwebs, I'm not going to lie to you. Got a real barn burner here on deck for y'all tonight. Tales of George Washington's spy network from the descendants of two of those spooks. One being here, and the other one being special guest here tonight, Brad Miniere, who co-hosts the Chasing Miniere series here with me on these topics of the Society of the Cincinnati and George Washington's spy network. Before we get into those matters, though, here real quick, got a couple administrative details for y'all. Tomorrow night here will be my Muppet department is on break, apparently. They're on strike. Damn union rules, apparently. But tomorrow night we got an occult and or esoteric review of the 1999 cinematic shit show, The Ninth Gate. You know, that film directed by that kid diddler, Roman Polanski. You know, Mr. Old Process, starring the new Process, Johnny Depp. So that'll be a fun-filled barn burner. And then on Thursday here, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Times as well. Same GCD time, same GCD place. We got the life and crimes of Muppet Mikey Aquino and the anatomy of the Satanic Panic. And if you folks aren't familiar with that psyop to mind War Runner, year 45 of which, telling folks not to pay attention to their senses and, you know, these aren't the Satanists you're looking for. Well, that stars old Muppet Mikey Aquino and his pal Ted Gunderson. If you don't know Laser Tag Ted,
there's thousands of Americans out there. By the way, I've been shot with a laser beam twice.
They got Ted twice, folks. You're going to have to stay vigilant. So, but tonight we're going to be doing a little bit addendum almost to last week's show, last week's Sundaze, and that is the matters of the Society of Cincinnati and the conspiracies therein, the factional divides, and the spy networks that old George Washington had instituted long before these treasonous coups of Aaron Burr and other such instances. So we're going to be going over some of that tonight here. And on the free Patreon preview side here, before we head on over Patreon. But without any further ado, our guest here this evening, Brad Miniere. Brad, welcome back to Operation GCD, sir. Well, first time on your Operation GCD Live, so welcome back for that one.
Hey, thanks for having me back. I'm excited live. No pressure, right?
Yes, sir. Well, thank you again for joining me to get a little GCD on these matters, and we can only hope that RR channel's in the house. We can only hope. I don't know if you're familiar with the RR channel. It's my favorite CIA AI bot, Bill Colby Ball Washer, who every time I mention these matters pops up in the chat. However, I did see RR in Dana Doodall's chat earlier today. So when I popped in there briefly, so you know he seems to make his rounds that RR AI bot.
Okay. Yeah, you'll have to fill me in, man. I only listen to about 2 or 3 podcasts. You're one of them. Yeah, you'll have to.
You're not missing much. It's just some CIA troll, probably a bot, but we can't tell. It's inconclusive.
I have listened to some of your Idaho 4 stuff, though. That's really good. Really good series.
Well, appreciate that, sir. Thank you much. It
Yeah.
is a continuation and ongoing enterprises of hood rat shit. It's a real technical term. We're all subjected to it. It's not just the satanic panic and the real world satanic murders and ritual sacrifices of animals and diddling of kids that has transpired over the last 45 years. Plus, when folks have been, psyoped of mind war style. But these things are across the spectrum. We're talking about psychological operations. I can't think of a larger one, sir, than what we're learned in school for American history.
Yeah. They went over it with broad strokes, and the odds of me, and the odds of me ever deep diving into this are pretty slim. The only reason I'm doing it is because my ancestor was part of it. So I'm just interested in it. But if I'm being honest,
that's a good place to start, sir. Let's just ruminate on that moment for a moment, because we've done what, 5 or 6 Chasing Miniere episodes so far.
So I guess this is number 6.
Right. This will be number 6.
Yeah, I found you because you were talking about the Society of Cincinnati. You were the only podcaster talking about it. And it just seemed natural to reach out to you. And here we are, episode 6. So that's really cool.
Yes, sir. And I do appreciate that. We've been on quite a journey over the last 7 months or so now. Well, actually, no shit. More like 9 months, really, right?
Oh, man, it's been a blast. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. And I learned new stuff every day. And so you got the article up. Very nice. Very nice.
Yes, sir. So you found this article, which mentions it's George Washington's funeral, and it mentions the Society of Cincinnati and a man, Captain William Ricard, who presided over the Masonic rites of that funeral. And he was a member of not only the Society of Cincinnati out of the Massachusetts chapter, correct? So the Massachusetts? Yeah. He also was the spy recruiter. What's that, sir?
Him and Constant Freeman were both in the Massachusetts chapter. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we see a lot of the combination of these varying chapters, North and South, combining within separate factions here, right? So that's very interesting. But Ricard here was the spy recruiter. So when you're searching for your forefather, Joseph Miniere / Menard, you find him being recruited by William Ricard. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's some correspondence from the War Department in 1797. We've talked about this, but Ricard had to produce receipts for the bounty ads that he put, and there were 4 deserters, and 3 of the deserters, Ricard placed ads all over the place. And for my grandpa, he didn't place any ads, and it just so happens this is when Joseph Miniere just appears out of thin air in Baltimore, Maryland, marries a woman named Jane Mary Ann Matthias. Shortly after that, he's living next door to Kitty Dorr, the recently widowed Kitty Dorr, her husband, William Dorr, who we're going to talk about a lot today.
Founding father that most folks don't really ever talk about, right? William Dorr.
Well, and you know he's a founding father, but what's really interesting to me is he is the guy that George Washington tasked to start the espionage program for the new country. That's
right. He was his chief spook, and we see not only your forefather and Captain Ricard here. They're traveling from Rowan, North Carolina, to New York City, to South Carolina. Living in and around the doers in New York City, and we've tracked them, right? And we've tracked them following around the Aaron Burr conspiracy 8 years prior to the Aaron Burr official attempted coup.
Absolutely, yeah. I have receipts for all that. I guess you could say Burr was the today's equivalent of the head of the CIA. Okay. So how does this man just because he's in business with multiple people, Morris, Knox, but yet Dewar takes the fall. Dewar is kind of I've always felt like he was kind of the fall guy, because how does the head of the CIA get busted for selling a bunch of bunk deeds to French people?
Well, I think what we're looking at is factional warfare. You know what I mean? They're happy to do a lot of things to each other within the society, within their group, right?
They sure as hell do, man. Because there's factions within factions,
So William Dewar and George Washington were very tight, though, right? I mean, George Washington, despite being from Virginia, he had a lot of some of his closest associates were from the New York chapter. But we see the divide in the New York chapter being the Aaron Burr versus these other folks like General Schuler, who was Alexander Hamilton's father-in-law. We see other folks like not Henry Knox, but Henry Knox's associate, General von Steuben, out of the New York chapter, who is credited with soliciting Washington to start the Society of Cincinnati. But Washington doesn't want to. We see an incident that pops off numerous coups besides the Aaron Burr one. We see this one pop off in March of 1783 in Newburgh, New York, which is about 7 miles south of there in Fishkill, New York, is where they found the society 2 months after this incident. So this was the third or fourth coup that Washington had basically weathered. Really the fourth coup, because Benedict Arnold had 2 coups. Ted Gunderson apparently got shot twice by some lasers, inconclusive where those lasers came from or if it actually ever occurred. But we do know this occurred, despite historians today claiming this wasn't a real conspiracy. But this is, in my opinion, what caused Washington to start the Society of Cincinnati, or at least acquiesce to von Steuben and Henry Knox's, solicitations for such. But a lot of it goes around Dewar. Dewar's involved in all of these matters.
So check this out. So when William Dewar, the said William Dewar, married Kitty Alexander Sterling, the man who walked Kitty down the aisle and gave her away, it wasn't Kitty's father. It was George Washington.
Yep.
And
that seems to relations, right?
Yeah, and speaking of relations, I have some interest in 18th century gossip for you. So the word on Chamber Street was that after William died, or even while he was in prison, Aaron Burr was getting some of that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So in 1799 on the Manhattan City Directory, we have Grandpa living either next door as a tenant of her boarding house / safe house. We got Aaron Burr's law office a block or two away. We got William Ricard's residence a couple blocks away. We got the Livingston office. We got the central bank there that Hamilton was starting. I mean, there was just and Burr's water company where he outsmarted Hamilton, which was funny. But yeah.
I mean, these folks like to screw each other over, don't they? Real estate transactions, etc. Right? Wait, real quick.
Right.
It's a good question from Jimmy Bobby here. The Menard Shipping Company. You familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
No, me neither. But I did find, I did want to point out that the Menards are part of the French chapter of the Society of the Cincinnati, MINARD. Now, but you, however, are a Scotsman Menard. Is that correct?
Well, according to my ancestor DNA test, I am.
Yeah.
But I have a French surname, so you figure it out.
But we can see why, though. I think when we see that the Menards of your French surname are part of the French chapter.
I would have to look into that, because I would be very curious to know. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy right here, Charles Joseph Menard, is the son of Pierre and Etienne Menard. They were civil engineers, which, it's like a Pierre L'Enfant, right? Contemporary, right?
It would be definitely worth digging into. It's just, God, where do you start? There's so many Miniers and Menards, and you'll see a Miniard or a Minard every now and then, but it's just, and there's so many records in France because it's a French surname. But I just, it's like, how do you know which is your family and how do you know which isn't? It's just so much of it.
Well, that's a good point, but I'm just saying there is representation within that surname within the society. Whether or not how those things pan out is a different story altogether, I suppose. But
yeah, good point. Yeah.
Which is like any other French surname. I say I'm to the point now in studying in our series, sir, where we see the French. So your forefather adopting a French name, and there's a lot of other connections within the French chapter there, and the Society of Cincinnati at large. Your forefather being an enlisted man, but nonetheless, this is the connections. And again, the society hired him, Captain Ricard, the man who did George Washington's funeral rites. So there is a lot of these connections, and I say every French surname that we know here in America, they are a society family.
But if you just put yourself in Ricard's shoes, he's out there recruiting, and he probably knows everybody in every town, or what church they go to, how they vote, and all that. A French surname in the backwoods of North Carolina with all those Scottish people is going to stand out, especially for somebody like William McCard.
Well, that's a solid point. And that brings us to Rowan County in 1781, where we find, and when we first started this journey, sir, we didn't have an intersection between your forefather and my forefather, Abner Vance. However, the legends around Abner Vance is that he was a spy and a scout for his biological father, as I argue, George Washington. And we now find in our studies and research and our journeys here in chasing Miniere that we find your forefather, Joseph Miniere, Menard, and Abner Vance, and others such as, notable figures in American folklore and history, such as Daniel Boone, Andrew Jackson, and George Washington, all in Rowan County, North Carolina in 1781. And Captain Ricard.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Captain Ricard was definitely floating around North Carolina's backcountry in the early 1780s. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. Where he was specifically on whatever specific day, that is impossible to say, but he was very familiar with the backcountry. He was recruiting there. He was, this was before he was recruiting, but he may have been scouting. Who knows? But he.
Brad, did I lose you? Did I lose myself? Am I here? Uh-oh, I think we lost Brad. Well,
No.
Oh,
I
you
hear
back?
you. No.
You there?
Yeah, I never left.
Did I leave? Maybe I left. Please continue.
But yeah, man. William McCall was floating around the area, and what's really interesting to me, and we're going to get into this, is the Battle of Cohen's Ford in the goings on there in North Carolina around this time. It's just very interesting, very interesting stuff.
Yeah, because I got it up on the map here. We're talking about Rowan County, just north of Kannapolis and Charlotte, North Carolina. But this is the western forefront of America at the time. The state of North Carolina was not founded in 1781. It was not founded until 1789. So this is still technically Virginia. And on top of that, it's founded by Captain David Vance as one of the delegates. That would have been Abner's uncle. So we find Abner down here. He's a man of mystery. We don't know much about him except for he takes the oath of enlistment at the age of 17 with his presumed father, Matthew Vance, in Pennsylvania, North Carolina at the time. Now Virginia, just across the border from Salisbury, or just across the border from I don't forget the name of the town it's across, but it's about 2 hours north of Rowan County here, right? So, it is interesting where we see a significant amount of travel in a time where travel is not easy for any of these gentlemen, and you have to have a purpose. So, not only is this the western forefront of America, we do, I think, as we started this journey, sir, we estimated these were all spooks within a spook operation, not only your forefather, but mine. And, again, we have the evidence of that with Captain Ricard being the recruiter, the doers, etc. Not just the legends that exist around both your forefather and mine, but and we find them all together. Nonetheless, we ultimately find them all together in Rowan County in 1781, at a time when all of these kind of machinations of George Washington's spy network is going off between the southern states and the northern states, with the operation or the administrative center out of New York City.
Yeah.
It's very interesting that when we find that all these folks are congregating together here. Because, let's look at the distance here from Rowan County just to New York City, right? Because that's where Washington was operating out of at the time, right? That's where his base of operations was. So if we were to go, what do you estimate that is? 1,200 miles, something like that? What do you think? Did I lose you? Brad? I lost Brad. Hey, there you go. You jumped off stage on me somehow. What do you think it is, 1,200 miles?
From Salisbury to Manhattan, about 1,200 miles.
Yeah, oh, wait a second. We're way off, dude. We're way off. That's round trip. It's going to be 600 miles approximately.
So you think they're going by land, or you think they're going up the coast?
Well, that's the next question. I presume they're going by ship, right?
It'd be quicker.
Right, they're leaving out of port in New York and coming down and probably in port there in Wilmington region of North Carolina, right?
Well, remember Thomas Miniere,
because they can't go into Charleston, right? Charleston's taken by the British at this point in time.
Well, and that's a very good point. I was going to bring that up because Cornwallis basically had Charleston. So did all the important meetings just move a little west to Salisbury for the time being?
For sure, dude.
Yeah,
I think these things are important to note that these men are traveling, but they're also doing not only they're going sea and land, right? They're doing rivers, they're doing ocean stuff. They're doing horseback.
Well, remember Thomas Miniere's wedding register in the Highlands at Inverness, they listed him as a mariner. Well, back then a mariner wasn't a hobby. A mariner was you're at sea all the damn time. You know, and we know Ricard was a mariner, and you know, maybe they just worked well together. I don't know. Maybe they went up the coastline and just knew what they were doing, and they got to Manhattan. And yeah, it's just real interesting when you put like when you show the map and you look at what's going on in this particular time. You know, the British have Charleston. It's just very fascinating.
Well, and it really all this boils down to, you know, is land, right? Real estate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Because we look at the matter. I mean, ultimately speaking, that's what the Burr conspiracy is about. Once the actual Louisiana Purchase is complete, 6 months later, Burr murders Alexander Hamilton.
Well, he definitely shot him. And Hamilton subsequently died. It wasn't, you know, he was never tried for murder. And it wasn't, to be fair, it was a duel, at least outwardly. I mean, so,
I'd like to unpack that more in the future because I've been looking more of those details. It's again like all these other narratives were sold, right? Like who really witnessed that duel? We're told, you know, it's interesting the parties that bring us that story. I'll leave it at that. It's interesting.
Well, what happened was the witnesses, the second is what they called them, but right before the duel occurred, the seconds would look away. They turned their back, just so they could have, you know, plausible, just so they couldn't get implicated, I guess. But I mean, that was just common for duels in that time. So the only two men on this planet that know exactly what happened are Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton.
Right. And one of the other famous, you know, coups we have is not disconnected from the Burr conspiracy, but yet we don't tell that story in history. That's what I'm saying. History has a very skewed narrative. This crown history, not crayon, but crown is in Vatican and English crown.
When you look at what happened later, if that had just happened in a vacuum, but the fact that that Burr gets or was already at the time starting to blend into the Southern crowd, you know, which was kind of taboo. Married his daughter off into a prominent Charleston family, society family, and you know, I'm sure it pissed people off. And so Burr was already, before Burr even killed Hamilton, Burr was already going down a path. And that just happened to be 3 years before he was in the Mississippi Territory, where he got arrested.
Yeah, but if we look back, just put a pin on that for 1 second, because Jimmy Bobby here is not a notary public. I'm not, you know, to be honest with you, I'm not the vice president, but there's another member of this tale we haven't really discussed yet tonight, and he is a notary public. He's he's an international man of mystery, John Lind, the notary public.
Never heard of him. Who is he now? I tell you what,
all these contracts, all these business dealings, they use one man on numerous from Quebec to.
I tell you what, man, if you're wait, who's this here? Who's this wiki page?
Well, this is Benedict Arnold. So Benedict Arnold and Aaron Burr were very close associates in New York. So George Washington already set up, and Alexander Hamilton's father-in-law, General Schuyler, set up Benedict Arnold to fail when they put him at West Point after his first attempted coup in 1777. This is and so he defects in 1780 to the British because he gets busted again. So these are all what I'm painting a picture of is a larger network of the spook operations that Washington installed intentionally around some of these characters that are specifically related to Burr. So it's the Tammany Hall faction of politics in New York is their founding fathers are fucking Benedict Arnold and Aaron Burr. And we see that same faction bringing the Civil War to a close with the Great Compromise of 1877 and what's that jackass's name? Samuel Tilden. So, and Samuel Tilden's father funds the Confederacy. He's a carpetbagger. And then he comes up north and joins the Tammany Hall faction. It's the same, but it's the same group of folks that start the Civil War, that end the Civil War. They're all connected to Burr. They're all connected to Benedict Arnold. It's one ongoing anti-liberty faction.
I love how you're tying in Civil War here. I didn't even know we were going to get into Civil War stuff, but
it is a society war, sir. These as we've established, the South Carolina chapter fractures in April of 1860. The Civil War starts in April of 1861. Oh shit, where? South Carolina.
Yeah, I think the seeds were sown a long time before 1861. I think the shit we're talking about right now, man. I mean, you could make an argument that this is just part of that ongoing, whatever you want to call it, feud, or you call it a feud. I just call it people getting greedy over land, and but it's all about land. It's all about resources. It's all about who you can tax. Who you can exploit, and the seeds were sown a long time. In fact, this is kind of like stuff's kind of brewing right now.
Well, again, when we're discussing ongoing matters of coups against Washington, we have this founding father, signatory of the Declaration of Independence, Surgeon General for Washington's Army. He was the leader of what was known as the Conway Cabal, one of the leaders of which. So this was Benjamin Rush. Now, we see his descendant and likely hereditary member of the society, Stockton Rush, being a commie shitbag here in America in 2024. He's that idiot that took the tin can with the video game remote control and a couple Indians, the kinds from India, not from, the natives here. Casino, not dot. Or I'm sorry, dot, not casino. He's the guy that blew himself up in the Titanic adventures, right? So before doing so, his whole mission was exclusively commie oriented with DEI nonsense, etc. Right? Well, that's the descendant of a guy who hated liberty back in 1778 and attempted to run a coup against Washington. Yeah,
there was more than one, too, right? You told me earlier today. In fact, there were several.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And they're all connected. They're all connected by the same parties. Around Burr, around Benedict Arnold, again, around General Wilkinson.
When you keep seeing the same
Rush, and then, this tyrant George Washington, sir, if I may, he didn't kill any of these people.
Yeah, it says a lot about him. But when you keep seeing all the same,
if I was there, I'm not sure if I'd have the same conclusions. But yeah, it does say a lot about him.
Yeah, and when you keep seeing all the same names come up over and over again, like Constant Freeman. When Benedict Arnold led the failed expedition into Quebec, Constant Freeman was there. Constant Freeman got exiled from Quebec, from Canada, for not taking up arms against Americans. He's just there, doing business, and God knows what else. But he got exiled, and that was Benedict Arnold's expedition when Constant Freeman got exiled.
For sure, man, for sure. And we see Quebec's a major hotbed of activity from the Revolutionary War proceeding all the way through the Civil War. That's where they were operating their European interests were operating their headquarters out of, financially speaking, at least. And in fact, there's suggestions that Abraham Lincoln himself went up there for secret meetings against the Confederacy and their European interests.
And more importantly, John Lind was in Quebec.
There you go, sir. And that's what I was going to say. And then we find John Lind once again, who lives a different life in Quebec than he did in New Orleans, despite it being under the name John Lind.
You know, he had a lot of power and a lot of clout in both places. You could argue that New Orleans, he had more, but he was no slouch in Quebec, man. He was master of a lodge. He was a merchant. He was a resident of a Jesuit estate called the Sillery Estate. He, which was prime real estate in those days, which may have been why the crown suppressed the Jesuits to get their land. Hey, land again. But yeah, the John Lind in Quebec.
Well, that's what America's about, land, right? This was a franchise opportunity and profits for the crown that we decided here in America, go fuck yourself, crown.
Yeah, and there's another crown we got to talk about is Spain. Spain's a big part of this story. You know, you got the British crown, you got the Spanish crown, you got France.
Yeah, but once again, we see John Lind at the machinations of that in New Orleans at the time where the French are taking over from the Spanish, right?
Yeah, in fact, let me go to my timeline here. I can give you the exact date.
Well, I can do that for you.
Yeah, actually do that if you don't mind, because if I minimize the chat here, it may cut us off.
Right here, bud.
Yeah, so
we see the first time Lind makes his way to New Orleans is July 17th, 1799.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Which tells me, okay, either he's an itinerant dude or he's not in Quebec physically. You know, his death was like legal fiction in 1803, but it's possible that he wasn't even there.
Right. And it's very possible because this is a very powerful man who set up a Jesuit-controlled Masonic lodge, right? Is that how it went down?
No, sir. He was living in a Jesuit estate, you know, which probably raised eyebrows, but.
Well, it raises my eyebrows when you're living in a Jesuit estate and you start a Masonic lodge. Who runs that Masonic lodge?
Yeah, and look, to be fair, Jesuit property was in prime locations, so you know, it could have just been it was a nice place to live, you know. But it does make you scratch your head, and it does make you scratch your head that he's the Grand Master of St. Andrew's Lodge.
Not only that, then he marries a Spanish Catholic lady, right?
Right, just because the St. Andrew's Lodge, it wasn't a quote-unquote Presbyterian lodge, but you can bet, I would say 90+% of everybody in that lodge, if not 100%, was Presbyterian. So now you have the same guy marrying a very Ramos. He married Don Manuel Ramos's daughter.
Yeah, he's marrying into the politics, right? Down there, right?
But you know, on just from a surface level, Quebec, Canada, and the Spanish. But you have a guy that's deeply embedded in both directions. It's just it's bizarre to me, man.
And every character. Well, actually, hold that thought, please, sir. Hold that thought. Good to see our channel. I thought my favorite CIA bot, Bill Kobe ball washer, wouldn't make it tonight, but good to see you here. So, Lind knows every character we've mentioned thus far, right? He even wrote letters to Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah. Well, no. Thomas Jefferson wrote John Lind.
My apologies. There you go. My apologies.
Yeah, but it was about no worries. But it was about a very strange topic. Thomas Jefferson was wanting to colonize some far off place with all the enslaved Africans. It's like he was trying to get rid of slavery and ship off all the black folks, which is kind of a weird letter to be sent into John Lind. But he did. It's on my website. I have it there, right on the timeline. But and then, John Lynn was supposedly captured by the British the day before the Battle of New Orleans. I mean, when you look at John Lynn and William Ricard, man, these two guys must just arguably led the two most interesting lives in history, man.
I don't disagree, sir. In regards to John Lynn, his Masonic activities in Quebec, and RR channel is notorious for being wrong. So this is not a new thing. But so John Lynn, again, if John Lynn's living on a Jesuit estate in Quebec and he's the Grand Master of a brand new Masonic lodge that he starts, who's in control of that lodge?
That's a very good point, JJ. Because, like I've said many times, where does his loyalties lie?
So that's what I'm saying. He's an international man of mystery. He's a tough man to discern where his loyalties are. I often argue it's the result of one's activities that we have to really focus on. And result of Lynn's activities and especially his real estate transactions, his notary transactions, it all benefits the society. Whoop.
Yeah. Just to put that into context for you, the secretary, so Manuel de Gozo was like the commandant down there in Natchez. But his secretary, I can't remember his name. I can Google it. Hell, feel free to Google it. But John Lynn gave this guy power of attorney to purchase land in Natchez from Abner Green, who was Thomas Marston Green's son. Now, recall that Thomas Marston Green, along with Cato West, were the two guys that tried to start Bourbon County, Mississippi, from Natchez to Georgia back in the 1780s. So now John Lynn's given Gayosa's secretary power of attorney to sell land to this guy's son.
Yeah, he wields an innumerable amount of power that really is inexplicable, and he's oftentimes in locations that are very important, like Fort Massac.
Yeah, so John Lynn sailed down the river there. Well,
had to have sailed down through Cincinnati into Fort Massac.
Okay, well, look, I can't name names, but somebody told me that has access to these records that John Lynn actually did not go down the Ohio and the Mississippi. He actually went down the Atlantic coastline to
New Orleans, and then up to Mississippi.
No, down the Atlantic coastline to Central America. It was a Spanish-controlled area where a lot of contraband was being. I can pull the email up, but the point I'm making is
I'd love to get into it here. We're going to be bringing this this free Patreon preview to a close here, sir, and I thank you folks at Interwebs for joining us to get a little GCD. We'll unpack some more of these matters and the matters of these spook networks, not just the chasing Miniere portions around the Burr network, but again, relative comparison to these other ones. But it is these interesting issues of real estate transactions and John Lynn being their go-to guy for everything that really fascinates me.
It's very fascinating. Man, I never get bored. I never get bored researching this guy, man.
Have I ever, Troublemaker Jonas got a good question. Have you ever been to Quebec, sir?
To me?
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay, well, I have, and I'm never going back, Jonah. How about that? I almost got sex trafficked by a guy who claimed to be the cousin of the lead singer of Rush out of the Montreal, Quebec airport in July of 1998.
That's interesting.
Yeah. His name was Mondo. He's a flight attendant for Delta Airlines. That is indeed what his actual legal name was. I forced him to show me some identifications. Because I was stranded there for a couple of days. I just turned 18. I had to get back to the Air Force. Otherwise, I would be AWOL. I was on vacation to Vermont. And however, back then, you had to fly basically out of Montreal. You couldn't fly to Burlington Airport. And it's kind of changed since then. Everyone comes from Montreal now down to Burlington. But nonetheless, we got my dude and I got stranded up there. Then my family's spot there in Vermont. And he was flying back to Cincinnati. I was flying back to Montana. And nonetheless, we just decided to drink. I just turned 18, so we decided to get drunk. We were like, fuck it, we're stuck here. I might be AWOL. We'll just drink. Well, this situation will work itself out, you know. So I wake up day 2 in the airport, and I wake up in the corner of an abandoned area of the terminal and look across the other corner about 50 feet away from me as there's a fella hovering over my dude there. And I go over there. I'm like, I want you to take a picture there, pal. You know, what are you doing? Looked like he wanted to rape my friend right there. And it was this Mondo guy, and he, he's all very apologetic. And I was like, oh, that's cool, dude. Why don't you go buy us some beers? He's like, and they said he'd help us get out of there. I'm like, oh shit, I don't believe you, but we'll try that. And sure as shit, he did. But in the process of that, he was inviting us to go to a Rush concert backstage. He would get us the airfare and tickets. And he had a whole photo album of him and the lead singer of Geddy Lee there of Rush, who he claimed was his cousin. May or may not have been his cousin, but I am convinced this dude was some sort of sex trafficker who was using Rush as the means in which to traffic these young men. Yeah. Just saying. I myself was a young Air Force MP, and my dude Jeff there was an Olympic swimmer. So, I can understand his taste in sex trafficking us, but nonetheless, I was having none of that, and I forced him to buy us beers all day and then get us on a plane out of there, and it all worked out the best. But nonetheless, never going back to Montreal. I haven't been there since.
Maybe that's why John Lynn left.
Right? Maybe Mondo's forefather tried to sex traffic him. Who knows?
I don't know. I've kind of got some alternative theories on Ricard and Lynn. Just with the guardianships, the wards, there's a lot of that going on.
A lot of details there. A lot of details. All right. Well, we'll close this one out here, there, Brad, and thank you all for joining us here to get a little GCD, and catch us over here on patreon.com/Operation GCD for the remaining of tonight's tale of George Washington's Spook Network, told by descendants of 2 of those spooks, myself and Brad here. So, yeah. Any closing thoughts here, sir, before we head on over to the Patreon side?
No, just I agree. We're just descendants of spooks, man. Miniere, Abner, and the fact that we found each other is just a little bizarre to me.
I think it's I understand what you're saying. Objectively bizarre. It seems normal to me in my life. And again, I'm not at all shocked that since that journey, we found both these men in Rowan County, North Carolina in 1781.
Yeah. It's just like I've always kind of felt, man. Something's going on in Rowan County, North Carolina.
You ain't kidding. All right, sir. On that note, catch you folks to the interwebs next time. Patreon folks, we'll see you over there momentarily.
Operation GCD with an Appalachian grin. Adventures and shenanigans, we're diving right in. Out in the holler where the secrets creep, garbage can dudes digging mighty deep. Secret societies, shadows in the pines. Operation GCD of American rebels design. Double J searching deep in his brain hole, past layers of melted hops and bone resin. From cults to cover-ups, we're talking about all of that. So watch your sixth friend and the truth we trust. The world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo cults haunt the moon's pale beams. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. GCD with an Appalachian grin. Adventures and shenanigans, we're diving right in. Join us on the journey and enjoy the show. Thanks for joining us to get a little GCD. Yeah, the world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo coats haunt the moon's pale beam. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Hell, the world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo cults haunt the moon's pale beams. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Operation GCD with an Appalachian grin. Adventures and shenanigans, we're diving right in. Out in the holler where the secrets creep, garbage can dudes digging mighty deep. Secret society, shadows in the pines. Operation GCD of American rebels design. Double J searching deep in his brain hole, past layers of melted hops and bone resin. From cults to cover-ups, we're talking about all of that. So watch your sixth friend and the truth we trust. The world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo cults haunt the moon's pale beams. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Operation GCD with an Appalachian grin. Adventures and shenanigans, we're diving right in. Join us on the journey and enjoy the show. Thanks for joining us to get a little GCD. Hey, the world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo coats haunt the moon's pale beam. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, light things ablaze. Hell, the world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo cults haunt the moon's pale beams. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze.